All right, welcome everybody around the world. Welcome to all my subscribers. So I have an amazing little revelation, a little discovery here to share with everybody. It might be little, but it is, in a sense, a major discovery. Now, I'm not here to talk about the seven pillars of proof the seven pillars of scriptural proof. I've already made all my videos on that. Published my book on that. You can get the book on Amazon. So I'm not here to talk about that today. I'm not here to try and talk about the year when it's going to happen. I'm really just going to focus on the following things that are right in front of our eyes in the Bible and everybody overlooked. So, quite simply, believe it or not, God and Jesus, and people who are familiar with my videos will think, oh, you've said this type of thing a million times before. This is something new. I haven't really presented this ever before. So, God and Jesus really have put something in the Bible to tell us quite explicitly when the end would come, and it's breezed right over everybody's heads. Okay. And like I said, this is outside of the seven pillars of scriptural proof. And the beauty of this one is that this, what I'm going to go through today, actually even acts as standalone evidence. I mean, you don't even need to get into the seven pillars of scriptural proof, although you should do. This could stay outside of that all by itself, and it still proves the same date, right? So it's just quite incredible. Well, wait till you see this, right? Now, first we have to start off, when did Jesus die? We can ascertain this looking at Daniel chapter 9. Daniel says, well, God tells Daniel that from the time of the decree to rebuild Jerusalem, both street and wall, until the death of the Messiah would be 483 years. Now, this is a widely accepted interpretation. There's no argument there, right? So the question is, when was this decree made? Okay, long story short, the Bible and history both confirm that it was King Artaxerxes who made this decree. Even though King Cyrus and other kings before made decrees to rebuild, they never really got acted upon. And furthermore, it actually says both street and wall. Okay, none of the other decrees, except for Artaxerxes, got Jerusalem actually rebuilt, and including the streets and walls. And this is literally stated in the Bible, verses saying who gave that decree, Artaxerxes, and that they were rebuilding streets and walls. Okay, so there's no argument. History confirms it. Okay, King Artaxerxes made that decree in 457 BC. Scholars will tell you no other date, no other year is applicable. That decree, historically made, was made in 457. 483 years later would place Jesus' death at 26 AD, not 29 AD, not 30, 31, 32, or 33, like everybody else has been saying for 2,000 years, but at 26 AD. This means that Jesus spread the gospel for 3 years, meaning that since Jesus spread his gospel for 3 years, that Jesus must have been baptized in the year 23 AC, okay, which is precisely 2,000 years before 2023, which, according to all the evidence in the seven scriptural pillars of proof, that should be the final year. Okay, it might come in 2023 or 2024, but that should be the final year period, right? So we can see right off the bat that there's 2,000 years from the baptism of Jesus until the alleged end time, okay, as the book of Daniel and other evidence suggests. But the amazing thing here, okay, the little revelation that I had last night was the following. And I knew all these things separately, but when I placed them together, like on one platter, it just hit me. And I was like, this is incredible. It's an obvious sign from God. Now, if Jesus was baptized in 23 AC, and if you add the year, I've got this in my book, right? This part here isn't brand new, but bear with me. If you add 666 to the year of Jesus's baptism, you get 689 AD. This is within a year, within the acceptable year flux of the Dome of the Rock being built on the Temple Mount, which, as you would know from my channels, from all my teachings, and from my book, that is a penultimate event. That is a penultimate date in all of these end days calculations from the book of Daniel and elsewhere. 688 AD is when the abomination was built on the Temple Mount. This was the Dome of the Rock. Okay, it was construction started historically in 688. It finished about 2 to 3 years later in 691. However, even in Islam, the official date they give is 688 for the founding of the Dome of the Rock. This is essentially when it was created. It was finalized 2 or 3 years later. Okay, but it is entirely 100% reasonable to say that 666 plus 23, even though it equals 689, it is 100% fair to say that this is obviously a sign from God, even though it's not 688. You follow me? It's within a year flux. It's 100% acceptable. It's not a coincidence, okay, that there are 666 years from the year of Jesus's baptism until when the abomination was built by the adversary on the Temple Mount. Okay, that's interesting observation number one. Number two, this is where it combines and becomes a magnificent revelation. Okay, in Daniel chapter 12, we have the famous verse right near the end where God says how much time there would be until the end days. And he says, you take the measure from this certain point, you count this many day/years, and you come to the end days. He calls it the end and so forth. Okay, now in that verse, the number is 1,335. Now, this is an unusual number. All the other numbers, such as 1,260 and 3.5 times, they fit into the framework of, a time being 360 years, and all these things we're familiar with. There is another measure of 1,290, but still that's 1,260 plus 30. But 1,335 is 1,260 plus 75. So it's just another one of these kind of out of place looking numbers. And, mathematically, I'm sitting here trying to crunch numbers and see if there's any mathematical connection or relevance to 1335. What's the square root of itself? How many times does it divide into 1260 or 360 or into 6,000 and so forth? I tried everything out and I couldn't find anything significant. And then last night it just hit me. Okay. It's so simple. What is 666 plus 1335? Well, let's put it the other way around. We know that 1334 plus 666 will give you 2,000. Now, like I said, we're still working within a year flux, right? Because it's 689, not 688. 688. But like I've always said, you don't fuss over 1 year because these historical events could have occurred in a January or a December of any given year. And you're just talking about the year count, not from what month it started from. And that can make the difference of a calendar year when you're talking about periods of time, right? So you should always allow for a year flux, right? But 666 plus 1335 equals the final 2,000 plus a year flux. This is astonishing. So it's fair to say that when Jesus was baptized, like everything was happening at a time for a reason, okay? Let alone Daniel's prophecy saying when Jesus would die. The fact is, the time Jesus died and subsequently prior, the time that he was baptized, all happened at certain times for a reason. These things are not coincidence. It's not a coincidence that there's 666 years from his baptism until the Dome of the Rock. And it's not a coincidence that the remainder until the alleged end is 1,334, i.e., 1,335 years. That is not a coincidence. Those numbers are like that mathematically for a reason from God. It's to show you 666 plus 1335 combined together, you get these final 2 days. So if we go over to Hosea chapter 6, verse 2, the famous prophecy everybody knows, where it says, he does revive us after 2 days, and the third day he does raise us up and we live before him, right? In verse 1, though, it says, come and we turn back unto God, for he is torn, he does heal us, he does smite, and he bindeth us up. He does revive us after 2 days, and the third day he does raise us up and we live before him. So this is showing that there's going to be a period of 2 days where the people, Israel and the people of God are punished. And then on the third day, they're going to be healed. Now, everybody, Judaism, Christianity, have always said this is probably talking about the final 2,000 years, especially when considering a 6,000 year span for mortal man. But everybody has always said this is probably talking about the final 2,000 years, in that the seventh millennia, the dawn of the third, therefore, would be the end. Okay, the arrival of Messiah and the judgment day and all that. Everybody's always said that. This is not something new, right? However, this is a lot more relevant when you factor in what I've just shown, right? Jesus is baptized. 660 years later, you get the arrival of the adversary's kingdom, the beast kingdom, right? And his abomination on the Temple Mount, whereby everybody's being forced to worship him under the guise of an unknown foreign god, right? So that's pretty striking. And then from there, we get all the biblical measures. You get the final 1335, like God said. So, I mean, it's pretty striking. And when you look at Hosea 6, talking about in the third day, he will raise us up. And after these 2 days of, essentially life and punishments, we get healed on the third day. So that fits in with that very, very well. It also does fit in with one of the pillars of scriptural proof that I discovered that I talked about in the book from a prophecy of Isaiah. I won't get into all the details of that here, but it does also attach to that there. But what is also striking is if we search the Bible for the term third day, okay, it occurs 58 times. And Hosea is the last mention in the Old Testament. Then we get into the New Testament mentions. Now, if we go through all these New Testament mentions, virtually every single one, like 99%, are talking about the third day in which Jesus would rise from the dead. Okay, a few quick examples. Matthew 16:21, and the third day to rise. 17:23, and the third day he shall rise. Matthew 20:19, and the third day he will rise again. Mark 9:31, and having been killed on the third day he shall arise. So you get the idea. All of these keep talking about how Jesus would rise on the third day. Now, are all these things just meaningless? Are all these numbers and periods meaningless? No, everything happens for a reason. Why is it said in so many places that Jesus would be dead for 2 days and then rise on the third day? Combined with Hosea, they'll be punished for 2 days and rise on the third day. Then we look at this little revelation, like I said, after Jesus is baptized, there's 2 remaining days, 2,000 final years. As of the year he was baptized, there's 2 final days, 2,000 years left, right? Then you have 666 plus 1335, okay? What that is showing you is an accounting of these 2 final days, and it's all there on record for us. And the very events, the most pivotal events of Jesus's life act as the marker points. I mean, this is God given here. I mean, this can't be coincidence. It's not a coincidence that Jesus died when he did and was baptized when he did, and that it was exactly 666 years from the Dome of the Rock, the abomination built by the adversary kingdom. And that's not a coincidence. That's precisely 1335 from the end that matches up with everything else, right? Hold on. Kitty, what are you doing? Stop that, would you? How many times do I have to tell you? The cat, every day, that cat sticks his feet in my brand new work shoes and just rips them apart every day. And every day I tell him, don't do it. And he just turns around and does it, right? If you want to know why I'm so irritated. I just bought these brand new shoes for work, right? The insides are all ripped up already. Anyways, right? So these things cannot be a coincidence. Okay, you look at all these mentions of Jesus will rise on the third day, rise on the third day. Why is it so important that he be dead for 2 and rise on the third? Well, there you go. There you see your precedent. Like I said, if you watch my videos, or more importantly, read my book on all of this, then you'll see that the scriptural pillar of proof that is about the Isaiah prophecy, I think that is the third pillar that I cover, that matches up with this 100% as well. It becomes 100% more relevant because that whole pillar is about a period of punishment for Israel that would span 1,998 years, which is essentially these final 2 days, right? So it's quite incredible. But also in Luke 13:32, so of all the mentions of third day in the New Testament, where 99% of them basically are about Jesus will rise on the third day, we have this one here. This is like the odd one out. It says Jesus is arguing essentially with with Judaism, with the rabbis or whatever at the time, the Sadducees or Pharisees. They're trying to incriminate him. So basically, Jesus has healed everybody. What Jesus always does, like I cover in my book, he's always healing people on the Sabbath day. Now, he could heal people any day of the week, but he's always, it seems, healing on the Sabbath day. Like if you read up all the mentions of when he did the miracles, most of them were on the Sabbath day. Now, if he had all the time in the world, all the days of the week to do the healings, why would he keep doing them on the Sabbath day, which would raise up angst with Judaism, and they're always trying to get him put to death for doing that, for breaking the Sabbath? Why would he go through all that when he could just heal any day of the week, right? So it's showing you there's a reason, a deeper reason that Jesus was trying to basically that Jesus was trying to rub something, like in front of our eyes, like to make it obvious to us, like rub it in our face, so to speak, say like, hey, I wonder why I'm always healing you and healing the people on the Sabbath day, because the Sabbath day is the seventh. And if we're talking about a day is like 1,000 years to God, and on the third day we're healed, that third day in relevance is the seventh day, because it's talking about after 2,000 years of punishment, we'll be healed on the dawn of the third. That would be the final 2,000 years of the 6,000, and then on the dawn of the seventh, right? So Jesus did all his healings on the Sabbath on the seventh. That's like a cryptic allusion over to, hey, we're going to have the rapture, the redemption, all of this on the dawn of the seventh, after the 6,000 years are done, right? So the very fact that he's healing on the Sabbath all the time like that, and part of the reason why he's put to death is because of this, was a very good reason why he was doing all of that. Now, the Jews even asked him, why are you, healing on the Sabbath? Why are you doing all this? And amidst the argument to him, right, this is the following conversation, right? So we go to Luke 13, verse 31. On that day, there came near certain Pharisees, saying to Jesus, go forth and be going on hence, for Herod does wish to kill thee. And he said to them, having gone, say to this fox, and I looked up in the Bible the uses of the term fox. We don't live in ancient times, so we don't know this. You wouldn't know it unless you live on a vineyard, right, where people grow grapes. But foxes eat grapes and they destroy vineyards, right? So there's actually a verse in the Old Testament which says that foxes destroy vineyards. Now you understand why Jesus used this term here. And Jesus said to the Pharisees, having gone, say to this fox, lo, I cast forth demons and perfect cures today and tomorrow. Those are the two final days. And the third day I am being perfected. So it's the same general gist, being healed on the third day. But notice, truly speaking, all the other mentions talk about how Jesus will be resurrected, will come back to life on the third day. Okay? This one is about people. It's not about Jesus. You could also argue it's Jesus saying that on the third day I am being perfected, means, I will come back to life, whatever. Yes, that's true. But he's also talking, literally, he's talking about healing people. All the other mentions are about Jesus will die and will rise on the third day. Very clear. This one here, the whole topic, conversations about Jesus healing people, doing most of the healings on the Sabbath, getting accused for doing it, getting accused of breaking the law. They want to get him put to death for doing that. And his defense is a very peculiar statement talking about the foxes who are destroying the vineyard, which have been the Pharisees, Sadducees, and whatever, right? The corrupt ones destroying Israel and all that. So he calls them a fox, and then he says, these 2 days I'm doing miracles. So he's about these 2,000 years. So the final 2,000 years are when all of these miracles and Christian miracles will be taking place to help give people faith and make them whole again, right? Then he says, on the third day I'm being perfected, right? So anyways, I could waffle on. You get the gist, though, right? I'm not perfect with words. It's a clear allusion over to how on the third day, if you're talking about the final two and then a third, how that third day is the seventh day. That's my point. Okay, Jesus did all his healings on the Sabbath, which is the seventh. He did it for a mysterious reason. Then he has that statement where he's calling them the foxes, the vineyard destroyers, in that he's healing on these 2 days and will be made perfected on the third. So this all connects over to Hosea. This all connects over to everything. So for these final 2,000 years are when the Christian miracles will be occurring, blah, 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 all that would happen. And then everybody, the redemption, the healing occurs on the dawn of the third day. So that's where you get the justification for that third day being the seventh day. That's a justification for it. And when you look at the actual chronological timeline, we see these amazing ironic coincidences, which cannot be coincidences, of when Jesus was baptized, and then 2,000 years later is the end. And then from when Jesus was baptized, 666 years later is the arrival of the adversary, building the abomination on the Temple Mount. And then from that point, ruling Israel as the final beast kingdom for 3.5 times, until the 1948 rebirth of Israel and the ingathering of the people of God again. So there you go. Okay, 666 plus 1335 is within a 1 year tolerable flux of the 2,000-year period. So that's the great revelations. Anyways, take care, folks. I think this, for me, acts as just another little piece of cementing glue that concretes all of the evidence in together and shows very strongly that God revealed in the Bible that these years, 2023 and 2024, would logically be the end. Okay, whether they are, whether they aren't, we have to wait and see. But from the Bible, it very, very, very strongly shows this. Okay, so anyways, take care.